Welcome to DFC on the Green. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Chris Etherington, taking a look at DraftKings picks for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Coming off a very fun week, everyone is excited. Obviously, Tiger was in the mix last week, very, very close to forcing a playoff. Definitely exciting week. I was making fun of you a little bit last week on the pod. I said you couldn't pick Tiger as a winner, and he almost won.
Yeah, it was on the weekend. It was almost vintage Tiger when he chipped in for birdie on Saturday on the ninth hole, and then he made it the second birdie again on the 10th hole for back to back, and then on Sunday, man, he wasn't making anything all day, and then all of a sudden he made a nice 40-footer on 17. And that's when everyone on Twitter just went bonkers, basically. That meant that he needed birdie on the last hole. Unfortunately, he was just a bit short, just pretty much what tells you what happened all day with his putter. Yeah, he just didn't give himself enough opportunities on the greens. It was funny seeing one of the PGA Tour's tweets where they showed all of his chips, including the almost hole-in-one that he had on Thursday, I believe it was. If one of these went in, then it would have been a playoff. He had like a dozen or so. That was very close. But yeah, really exciting to see him contending, and a lot of people are betting him and saying that he's going to win this week.
Yeah, I mean, odds favorite here so far. He is the fifth most expensive on this slate. He's at 10K. You sent a tweet out. You're like, man, could we see a super high priced Tiger? And we didn't get that, and we kind of got a field that was, I feel like kind of there's a lot of names here that maybe are a little bit underpriced this week. And you and I were talking kind of a little bit of lineup building strategy before we hopped on and started recording. And I was telling you, it's just, looking at the top tier here and just McIlroy out of form and Fowler a little bit out of form. Rose, very solid day. You just don't know what Jason Day is going to show up. I'm kind of just okay with kind of moving past the 10K like range this week in some lineups and kind of skipping the true big name studs. But a lot of different ways you can go as far as being different in GPPs and cash games. There's very much playable guys that you can feel and kind of build a well-balanced lineup this week.
Yeah, at the top here, to me, it kind of seems like Rose and Tiger are going to be your safest options to play this week. With Rose being on form, basically a sure bet that he's going to make a top 10 or very close almost every week right now. He is just tuning up for the Masters, trying to get some redemption from last year. With Tiger, everyone saw what happened last week, and now he's at a course where he won 8 times. His last one being back in 2013, and that just happens to be the last time that he was here. So in a way, he's almost defending his title, if you want to look at it like that. With the other guys, I mean, yeah, last week was pretty much the last time for me to play Worry. I just need to see something with him to get me back on his train. Right now, it is just not looking good. I think people are just going to talk their way into playing Ricky, just because they love him. He seems to have that floor of 15% ownership every week. So, and then yeah, Jason Day is a flip of a coin. He can withdraw from the Pro-Am with a bad back, and then he'll win the tournament that same week, or he'll withdraw during the tournament itself, citing a bad back. So who knows with Day and the other guys, like I mentioned, I think Rose and Tiger might be your safest options this week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think when you look at it, like, if you're rostering, McIlroy or Day or Fowler at this point, like, you're doing it because you're kind of building multiple lineups. So, like, we're going to get to a tier here in the 9Ks where really everyone's kind of playable. You and I were talking a little bit before about Matsuyama and his potential ownership this week. He's at 9,700. Hasn't played since the first round of Waste Management where he withdrew from with a wrist injury. He's been dealing with that ever since. It's always, you never really see the ownership when guys are dealing with injuries and they come back for their first tournament. Just where he's priced at in between Tiger Woods and Fleetwood and Noren and Stenson, like I don't see Matsuyama being really that high owned. And I just think he's a decent tournament option, like if you're looking for an ownership play, because he's got that potential. Like he does have a potential here to finish with a top five. And if you're going to get that at 10% less ownership, like he's worth a shot.
Yeah, he's that perfect ball striker that you want for this week. Like you said, though, with the injury, it's going to make people think about it, and his ownership might be less than 10%. But he's been on form going up to that week, and then he was actually playing decently well on the day when he withdrew the tournament. So, if his wrist is not bothering him, and you want that less than 10% Matsuyama, he's fourth in the field for strokes gained approach to the green, and he also has like a T6 finish here going back to 2016. So with that, I think it's kind of like, okay, just play him, hoping that he'll be around 8% or less, and maybe he'll have a good week, and you're just gonna lap the field just by picking that one golfer.
Yeah, because you can you can play some chalky guys and then play a Matsuyama at single digit ownership, and it's a pretty unique lineup. And I just think we'll kind of get into this next tier here of Fleetwood, Noren, Stenson. Noren you write up as a cash game play in your article, and these are three names I expect to be, maybe not Stenson so much, but Fleetwood and Noren to be pretty popular this week.
Yeah, it seems that a lot of people are going to choose between Fleetwood or Noren. You're either going to go either way. You can't actually make a good lineup with both of them in it. But for me personally, I think Noren has more experience playing over here in the States. When you look at his stats, he's third in the field for par 5 scoring. He's sixth in the field for approach the green, and seventh in the field for birdies or better. And he has made a cut here last year, so with him having that some course experience does help a lot. If you look at Fleetwood, yeah, he had a top 10 here last year, and I think a lot of people will go to him just because of that. They're both awesome plays, but I think with the more experience playing in the States, I think Noren has the edge over Fleetwood this week.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree. Like you said, they're both fantastic options this week. Both, I think, fairly priced. Like you said, you can make a very comfortable lineup with both of them, and we were playing around with that before. What do you feel about the rest of these guys in this range? Like, what are you doing with Stenson this week in 9,100? Do you have any interest in like Hatton or Patrick Reed before we get into the rest of these guys?
I'm definitely going to play like a one lineup with Stenson, just as like I'm going to say an ownership angle, with Fleetwood and Noren being right there, and with Stenson missing the cut here last year, and then just not playing well at all last week. I think he's going to be overlooked at 9,100. I mean, he's still playing okay this year. So I think for me, I'm going to play Stenson, and then the rest of my lineups are good. Will be Noren. As far as Hatton, I think I'm kind of not on the Hatton train. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I just don't seem to get the guy right every time I play him. He seems to miss the cut, and then when I don't, he will play well. So I think this week I'm just going to fade him, and yeah, just move on from there.
So for everyone listening, play some Hatton because you're fading this week.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's one of those few guys where, like I said, I just don't seems to get the graphs of the guy, and every time I think, okay, he's going to play well, stats line up, and he misses the cut. And then the other weeks, I'll look at him again. Yeah, I just don't have a feeling. I'll fade, and sure, a top 10, maybe a top 5 finish. And yeah, it just seems to happen with me with that guy almost every time.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have our few guys that it's just tricky to get right. But then we kind of break into this range here, like this 8K range. There's a ton of solid plays. Before we get to the guy that you mentioned in your article, you have Adam Scott here at 8,700. Has played pretty well over the last 2 weeks after a kind of rocky start to the season. 8,700, like he's an interesting play. I like Bubba as well at 8,600. Like he's playing well this year. I like that he backed up his win at the Genesis. I know he took a week off, but had a top 10 in Mexico. Like that was good to see some consistent play out of Watson.
It is, and it's very interesting on what to do with these guys this week. It's going to be interesting to see what their play is going to be like heading into the Masters. It's very good to see that they're both playing well right now, and then it's almost intriguing to actually play them in cash for the Masters, which is crazy to think because last year we were just basically on the fade Bubba train all season long. He was just not playing well at all. And then same with Adam Scott. He was just off the face of the earth for a while. And then all of a sudden, he's, like you said, the last 2 weeks, he's actually been playing well. So I think I'm just going to give it a couple weeks and see how they do. And I might consider them playing in cash for the Masters, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, like a year ago, like you said, like you wouldn't even think like here we are. And, I think they're both obviously in play this week. I think there is some obvious upside in GPPs. I don't mind Scott in cash games. I might prefer like Harmon and Scott, I think, over Watson in cash just because it is such a small sample size with Watson. But definitely all three of those guys, very interesting, very playable. And like I said, like looking forward to the Masters, like if these guys keep up their play, like I think their prices will come up. But I'm also curious, like if their prices stay the same for this Masters, like it just all depends on what the pricing looks like for the Masters. Because if it's kind of soft, then like we're probably going to get like pretty heavy ownership on some of those guys.
Yeah, I would expect them to be roughly the same where they are now for the Masters, to be in this high $1,000 range. It's just going to make people think to whether to play them or not. It all depends who's going to be up above 9,000. But yeah, with Ryan Harmon, I mean, I think he's your perfect cash game guy this week. He's made the last top 20 finishes here last 2 years. He's also 6th in the field for birdie or better percentage. He's 8th in the field for par 5 scoring. So at 8,500, the way he's been playing entering this week, I think it makes a lot of sense just to plug him in for your cash lineup and don't even think about it.
Before we get to the Coke rack, do you have anyone else that you like in this range? Leishman, Snedeker, List. You got Louis right there. Anyone jump out at you?
Snedeker is intriguing a little bit. He needs a good finish this week, if not a win, I think, for him to enter the Masters field. I mean, that's pretty much that's been his plan ever since he started the season, is to qualify for the Masters. Maybe he's trying too hard to achieve that, but at 8,300, the way he looked last week, paired with Tiger, minus what happened on Sunday, his game seems to be there. He has decent course history here. I mean, he's made the last 4 straight cuts here. So I think Snedeker at 8,300 is a good play for tournaments this week.
Yeah, it should be definitely overlooked in that range. Coke Rack at 8K, Zach Johnson at 7,700. Both guys mentioned as cash game plays in your article. Both guys with very solid course history.
Yeah, it's almost to a point where they're cheap enough where if you put 100% in all your lineups, I'm not gonna complain about it at all. To me, it seems like a free square for Zach Johnson for sure, and then maybe a free square for Coke Rack. If you look at Coke Rack, I mean, he's 4th in the field for par 5 scoring. He's also 9th in the field for birdies a better percentage. And then when you look at his course history, he's made basically 3 top 20s here in the last 4 years. So if you look at that, the price at 8,000 is just too cheap the way he's been playing. And same with Zach Johnson. He's just on form right now. He's 12th in the field for approach to the green. He's also 12th in the field for proximity. And then if you look at his course history, I mean, he's made 2 top 10s in the last 3 years. So with those two guys being 8,000 and 7,700, it's very close to say, you know what, I'm just going to play him in all my lineups and not think about it.
Yeah, I feel like these prices are really too good to pass up. Like, I'm willing to throw away ownership and leverage elsewhere because, we've talked about a couple of GPP plays that you can do that with. And I don't mind taking in, 2 golfers that might draw a little bit of ownership just because of course history and because of their prices. So I'm cool with that. Let's jump to James Hahn here. We talked about James Hahn for I think 4 hours before we started recording. So Hahn 7,600. You feel like he's just a trap this week because it just seems too good to be true for that price tag.
I mean, let's just go to his stats real quick. I mean, he's 2nd in the field for birdies a better gain. He's 2nd in the field for par 4 scoring, 7th in the field for approach to green, 9th in the field for proximity. He made the cut here last year, a top 50 finish. At 7,600, that's all you want from the guys, to have that top 50 finish with the upside of a top 10. And then, yeah, he hasn't played since the Genesis, I believe. I mean, I don't know. I think if he's going to be in that 15 to 20% ownership, I think I'm just going to go to like a Russell Knox or a Scott Piercy just to get the guys like less than 12%, 10% in ownership with almost the same type of golfer, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, like it's just, there are pivots you can make off on here. Like, I mean, Scott Piercy, like you said, like the guy that you're going to be looking at 7,500. I think Russell Knox is also intriguing at the same price as a potential GPP play. But then, I mean, there's still like other options even cheaper.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to go to like someone like Charles Howell III, be it down there as well. But going back to Scott Piercy, I mean, he's third in the field for approach to the green, and he's 14th in the field for par four scoring. The only knock I have for him is that he hasn't played here since 2013, and he missed the cut. Um, so with that being said, I think he's just a tournament option, just because he doesn't have that recent course history here. Um, but with his stats looking decent, with if you look at his recent form, I mean, he's made 3 top 20 finishes in his last 4 events, and at 7,500, that's really good value. That's the upside that you're looking for when you're picking golfers down here.
Yeah, I definitely like it, and I like it as a leverage play off of like a Howell or Hahn. Um, Moving down a little bit here, Kevin Chappell, 7,300, got him as a GPP play. This is an interesting kind of area, just because you have a couple of guys like Molinari's right there in price. A couple of guys lower, like you mentioned, Sam Burns at 7,200 as a GPP option, who's my guess is going to be your kind of ownership play in this range, right?
Yeah, I think Burns is still new to some people who don't follow golf as much. People have seen his name because he played with Tiger on Sunday, I believe it was, at the Honda, where he actually beat Tiger that day. I believe he shot like a 68 or 67 when Tiger shot around 70. I think with that, he has the confidence to actually play on the tour. And I think also with his status, he needs to make the cut. And then I think he needs to finish inside the top 30 or so to get some status on the tour where he can actually play in a few events without getting some sponsor invites. So I think at 7,200 with the way he's been playing is a steal almost. And with going to Chappell, yeah, I think with a lot of players around him, he might be overlooked. He might creep up to that 15% in ownership, but with his stats the way they are, I mean, he's 4th in the field for par 4 scoring. And then if he finished runner-up here in 2016. So with people going to like Molinari or Keegan Bradley, I think is going to be somewhat popular this week as well. I think Chappell might be that overlooked golfer down here to give you the edge for this week.
No, I like that call a lot, and we look further into the 7K range, like we're still not done. Like I like Kyle Stanley at 7,200, Streelman at 71 is interesting. Hadley has just fallen off the wagon, 20 over and combined over his last 2 tournaments at 7,100. I won't be going there, but I do have some interest in like Streelman and Kyle Stanley. And I would have interest in Kevin Na at 7,100, but I don't like that, he's dealing with a little bit of a neck issue.
Yeah, it was weird with Kevin Na. He withdrew because of a neck injury, but then he tweeted out of him working out a couple days later. So, I mean, totally a tournament option for him. We're used to paying Kevin Na like $1,000 more, and we were saying that he's pretty much a cash game lock. But with the neck injury, is a little worrisome for me. And yeah, with Chasson Hadley, I think he kind of hit the wall a little bit. It looks like kind of what happened with Chas Reavie a few weeks earlier when Reavie had this amazing run of top five after top five, and then all of a sudden he just didn't have the energy anymore, and he barely made the cut. And it was almost the same case with Hadley. It was just almost on point every week at the start, and then just really just hitting the wall and not having that energy to keep pushing forward. So I'm kind of off of the Justin Hadley train and see what he actually does. But outside of that, I think Burns might be the cheapest guy for me. There's just not too many options below 7,000.
DeChambeau's just sitting there mocking you.
Okay, in my defense, he was cursed as soon as I put the article out.
That's very true. The bad back, I don't feel any need to go there at 6,900. Like, if you want to go that low, I mean, you can take your chances on Streelman or Nah or Stanley.
Yeah, any sort of injury is you're pushing it. It's just one of those things where if a golfer's injured, they're not going at 100%, and that's a lot of these guys. That's a lot. If they're not going 100%, then they are pretty likely to miss the cut or just withdraw almost right away, just because, like what happened to Bryson. He apparently slept wrong in a hotel room on Tuesday night or something like that, and his back wasn't feeling right. He played the first round, I believe, and then he just had to pull out before the second round started, just citing just a back injury. So, I mean, I'm not going to play him until I know that he's actually healthy. Same with Kevin Na. I'm just not going to touch him with the neck. Like I said, I think Burns is going to be the cheapest option for me this week.
Is DeChambeau going to be the guy who starts bringing his own mattress to places?
The way it sounded like this from last week, I think he might be that next Louis to start bringing his own mattress. The guys on the telecast were actually making fun of it. It's like, that's why Louis Oosthuizen isn't bringing his own mattress, because you just don't know with the different hotels, with the different beds. You just don't know. And all of a sudden you sleep wrong, and yeah, you have to withdraw with a bad back.
I know these guys obviously are, they're staying at every hotel. It doesn't matter whether it's 5-star or 2-star, you can have a bad mattress, but these guys are not staying at little shanty huts. Like come on.
No, they're not. I think it was just a weird situation that happened with Bryson. Yeah, I'm just not going to go there this week.
I know. I would have been more believable if I think you just said he didn't have his lucky hat on or something.
Yeah, the fact that he was actually cursed last week just put the icing on the cake for him to say that he slept on Tuesday night. It was like, come on.
That's very true. Do I need to ask you who you think is going to win this week?
I mean, I want to say Tiger, but outside of Tiger, I think Noren is your good pick for like a one and done. If you're into that, if you haven't used him yet, I think this week is a good week to use Noren as a one and done.
Yeah, and I know in your article you put Kokrak as your dark horse guy to win this week.
Yeah, he's just, like I said, he's playing well entering this week, and at 8,000, it's almost unfair for Kokrak the way he's been playing.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think this is a potential. I feel like I've called a Noren win, I think, of like 2 out of our last 3 pods, but I definitely agree. I think Noren's due for a win here.
Yeah, he's knocking on the door for sure. Ever since the playoff loss at the Farmers to Jason Day, he's been still on point, very consistent. hasn't missed a cut since then, and yeah, he's due for a win.
Yeah, Justin Rose win would not shock me either.
No, and like I said with Rose as well, I think he's just gearing up to have another solid week at the Masters. He wants that redemption so bad.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's it for us. You can check out Chris's article over on dailyfantasycafe.com. Keep tuned on Twitter. Wednesday, I believe 7:35 tee off time, Thursday morning.
Yeah, something like that. It's usually around 7 o'clock or something like that in the morning.
Yeah, so get those in. Definitely check out the article. We'll be back next week or the week after.
I honestly I don't know what's happening next week. I want to say we have a week off next week, but I don't know yet. I will see what happens if DraftKings will do anything for the match play, but more than likely it's going to be a week off for us.
Could be. So let's go wrap it up for us. Check out dailyfantasycafe.com, and we'll be back 1 to 2 weeks. So see you then.